Hey, AVID students! Over the last few classes, we've been talking about goals and how they differ from wishes. We came to the conclusion together that wishes, while they may be fun to think up, don't really help us achieve success in life, and unless we have our own personal genie, we can pretty much kiss a lot of those wishes goodbye. Goals, on the other hand, are things we do have control over that can help us obtain the things we want in life and achieve success. And that's what AVID is all about, success. So to help you on your road to success, we're going to be taking notes on the different types of goals that a person needs to set in order to be successful. Today we're going to be taking Cornell notes. You'll need something to write with and a blank Cornell note sheet like this one. We'll be using a set of blue Cornell notes in class, but you can use any color notes you like, just as long as you get all the important information jotted down. Start by writing your name, the period in class, and the date in the upper right-hand corner of your Cornell note sheet. Also, be sure to write down the topic at the top of the page. The topic, of course, is the types of goals. This video will be about 10 minutes in length, and you will want to be taking notes as you watch, but feel free to pause or back up the video as often as you like if it moves too fast. All right, so let's talk about the different types of goals. Before we get too far into our notes, let's talk about our objective and our essential question. These are important things that we have to focus on anytime we have Cornell notes. Our standard and objective, and this is not something that you necessarily need to write down, is we want to be able to differentiate between and write long-range, mid-range, and short-range goals. The essential question, which you do need to write down, is this: what are the different types of goals, and how will they affect my life? Once you have your essential question written down, we're ready to begin note-taking. Let's begin by defining long-range goals. Long-range goals are defined this way. This is where you would like to end up in life. You won't fulfill this goal anytime soon, but it helps to set it. Now that we've gotten a definition, let's take a look at some examples. One example of a long-range goal would be, I want to go to Duke University. This is a long-range goal because for a 7th grader, Duke University is pretty far down the road. Another example of a long-range goal might be, I want to become an architect. This is even further down the road, so again, this qualifies as a long-range goal. Our next type of goal is called a mid-range goal. These are the steps that you are going to take to help you meet your long-range goals. For example, one mid-range goal might be, I'm going to take advanced math and science classes. This is a mid-range goal because it's something that we need to do now so that we can be prepared to do some of the other things that we want to do later in life. Another example of a mid-range goal might be, I'm going to get a high grade point average or GPA. This is something that will take some time and some effort. It's not something that we can achieve in a day or two. It's something that we have to think about now and set a goal for that we can look back at later on in the school year. Our third type of goal, and the one that's most important to us right now, is a short-range goal. These are immediate goals that are necessary in order to achieve mid and long-range goals that you set for yourself. Short-range goals help set up everything that's going to happen later on. You can't achieve mid-range or long-range goals unless you set those short-range goals first. Let's take a look at some example of short-range goals that you might be able to think about and relate to right now. One example is, I'm going to make the AB honor roll. This is a goal that we can think about that we know we can try and build toward going forward to our next marking period. Another example might be, I'm going to complete all of my homework for my math and science classes. This is something that we can do today, starting right now, and something that we can look at later on and see how it affects our mid and long range goals. Okay, so we've defined goals, we know what they are, and we know the different types. Let's see how they look in action. What I want you to do right now is think back to the article that we read in class, the one on Wilma Rudolph. Think about all of the things that she had to do in order to be successful. Whether we realize it or not, Wilma Rudolph had to set short, mid-range, and long-range goals in order to achieve the success that she found in life. So, what I want you to do on your Cornell note sheets is explain one of each type of the goals that Wilma Rudolph might have set during her life. Give it an example of one short-range goal, one mid-range goal, and one long-range goal that Wilma Rudolph would have had to come up with. Okay, we defined the different types of goals. Now it's time to see how these goals affect you as a student. Here's what I want you to do. On your Cornell notes, I want you to share one example of all three types of goals from your own life. It's okay if you haven't thought of some of these mid and long range goals. Now will be a good time for you to start. So let's begin with a short range goal. Keep in mind that a short range goal is something that you can achieve fairly quickly, usually within the next few days to few weeks. Make sure that your short range goal is realistic and attainable. Doesn't make any sense to come up with a goal that you know you won't be able to achieve. Once you have a short range goal, now it's time to think about a mid range goal. Mid range goals take a little bit longer to achieve. Usually, mid range goals are things we want to achieve over the next few weeks to few months, and maybe even over the next few years. Keep in mind that your mid range goal should build upon your short range goal. Hopefully, as you continue to make these goals, they will help the later goals make more sense and be more attainable. Once you've got a mid range goal, then it's time to think long term. Keep in mind that long term goals aren't going to be achieved anytime soon. It can be something that you hope to achieve before you leave middle school, something that you hope to achieve while you're in high school, and maybe even in college. Some long range goals go beyond school and go into later on in our life. Keep in mind that you want your long range goal to be at least in some way related to both your short and mid range goals. And again, if you need some help, think back to what Wilma Rudolph did and how her goals impacted her life, mid range and long range. Okay, time to wrap this up. No, not that kind of wrap. That kind of wrap. Of course, no set of Cornell notes will be complete without a summary. So in the summary section of your Cornell notes, here's what I want you to do. I want you to summarize what you just learned about short, mid, and long-range goals. Don't forget that anytime you write a summary, you want to begin with the words, "In these notes, I learned." Then proceed to briefly explain what each type of goal is. And with that, we're done with our discussion of the different types of goals. But before we go, I want you to keep one thing in mind. Setting a goal is just part of the process. The goals you just set aren't going to go out and reach themselves. You've got to get up and do something in order to make your goals a reality. Remember, a goal without action is just a wish. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget, AVID rocks because you've got AVIDtude.